Bismillah, alhamdulillah, salatu ala rasulillah wa ala alihi wa sahbihi wa wala. I'd like to welcome you all to this second um, lecture of week 7, I think, from ICS 104. Any questions before we proceed? Any questions before we proceed? Okay, very good. Okay. Right. So let us share the screen. Okay, let me share the whole thing. Okay, can you see? Is it visible?
No, it's not.
Yes, it
Nothing.
is.
Slides is visible, yes.
Okay. Let me just remove some of the things. Okay. So basically, the last thing that we did was we looked at the you know processing strings using the while loop and some of the string methods that we can apply, like is digit, is lower, is upper. We have seen, how to deal with them. So the last thing that we will do today, regarding processing strings, is related to data validation. Okay, is related to data validation. So it is important to validate user input before it is used in computation. However, data validation is not limited to verifying that the user input is a specific value or falls within a valid range. So it's not only, we just check whether it's a digit or not, or we check whether, did I enter a character or a letter or a special symbol. It goes actually beyond that. We will look at, verifying user input in a specific format. Okay, we are going to look at specifying or verifying user input in a specific format. Now, in order to do that, let us consider the task of verifying whether a string contains a correctly formatted number. Okay, a correctly formatted number. Now, in the US, the phone numbers follow a specific format. So usually you first start with the area code that consists of 3 digits, okay? And usually this is placed between an open bracket and a closed bracket, followed by three more digits for it could represent the area, where that person, the geographical location, of that number. If it was, for example, a landline number, and then followed by the last 4 digits. But basically, between these, 7 digits, there is basically a hyphen. Okay. So the question is, well, can I verify that, if I ask the user to enter a US phone number, is it possible that I can make sure that, that phone number follows this format? And the answer is yes. Okay, and the answer is yes. Right. Any idea what should be you what should we use? First of all, let me ask the following question. Would you tend to use a for loop or a while loop, and why?
For loop,
For loop, why?
because we need to check each character in this string.
Okay, we need to check each character. So this is a good justification that he wants to use a for loop because we have to check each character in this in this string. Any other opposing opinion would like to use the while instead of a for?
We should use the while
We should use the while. Why?
because we will check each element in a different way. Like the first element should be a bracket, and there are a number, and we have a hyphen.
So if you are going to do it for each and every one of them, that's the same of a for loop. It doesn't matter whether you use a for loop or a while loop, huh? You didn't give me a good justification for using the while loop.
Can we use ifs?
We will have to use ifs. Which can we? Okay, we will have to use ifs. But now I'm discussing the while or the for. Anybody thinks that we should not use the for loop, we should use a while loop? يا شباب. طيب, let me give
Both of them, maybe.
both of them. It's too much. Use both of them. Unless you meant, it's either. We can use this or that without any preference.
No, I mean for loop and while loop at the same time.
For loop
Yes.
and while loop at the same time? Well, we
Yes.
will not do that now. We will do that when we take exception handling, where we ask the user to input it in a correct way, and if he does not, we will ask him again. So we will do that later. Okay.
I think we should use for loop
It's better to use for loop.
because we mainly use for loop when we know that how many times the loop should execute.
Hello. Fine. Okay. Now,
Doctor,
yes.
maybe we can use while because using while whenever the condition is false, it will stop. So
That's what I was looking for. That's what I was waiting for. Huh? See, the while loop, the advantage of using the while loop over the for loop is that the while loop allows me to stop, the execution once I know that there is something wrong in the user input, right? By using, the same way we used it earlier, right? We set valid to false, or we set valid, to true while valid, and whatever, and then you keep continuing. Okay, so the advantage of using the while loop over the for loop is that I can go outside the while loop once I find that there is something wrong in the user input. Okay, right. So we will need a loop that can exit early if an invalid character or an out-of-place symbol is encountered while processing the string. And I think if you have, read this hint, it would have, occurred to your minds that, it's better to use a while loop, not a for loop. Okay, right. So let's look at the code now. So what do we need to check? Well, there are 1, 2, 3, 4. There are 4 checks that we carry out in order to ensure that, this is a correct phone number. The first one is I need to check, the open bracket in the first character at index 0. And the second one is for indices, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 9, 10, 11, 12. For all these indices, I need to check whether it's a digit or it's not a digit. مظبوط? Then at index 4, I need to check whether it's a closed bracket. And at index 8, I need to check whether this is a hyphen. Okay? I need to check that this is a hyphen.
Doctor,
So, now,
is there a way or a formula for the string to check if it is a special character, symbol, or something like that? Because we know is digit and is alpha num and is alpha.
والله, go ahead and check the Python library, the Python documentation. If there is, you will find it there. And to tell you the truth, I don't know. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So basically, we start with, initializing valid, right? Who can tell me what does this check?
Checks if the length of the input is 13.
It checks if the length. So if the length was not equal to 13, definitely there is something wrong, صح? Whether it is 14 or 12 or
Yes.
whatever, there will be something wrong. So it checks whether it is, 13 or not. So if it's 13, valid will be equal to true. Otherwise, if it's false, when you come here, while valid, it is not valid, خلاص, it will go outside. Okay, it will go outside. Right. So then position equals 0. So this is kind of the cursor that will go through, each and every element in the or each and every character in the string. So the easiest way to do these checks, is which ones occur more, the digits or the special characters?
Digits.
Digits occur more, صح? So we will keep the digits until the end. That's why, for example, in the else here, we have valid equal string position dot is digit, right? Because we are going to check that much more than, those special cases. For the special cases, whenever we are at that position, we basically check. So if we are at position 0, I need to check whether it is an open bracket. If we are at position 4, I need to check whether it's a closed bracket. When we are at position 8, I need to check whether it is a hyphen or not. Otherwise, I need to check whether it's a digit. Okay, and don't forget position equal position plus 1. Otherwise, we will go into an infinite loop. So you keep doing that until either something is invalid or the position basically reaches, the last character, and you check the last character. So in this way, you go outside. If valid, you will print the string contains a valid phone number. Otherwise, it does not contain a valid phone number. Okay. So as you can see here, the string contains a valid phone number. For example, if I change, let's say this thing here, assume that I made it like this, and I run it. Well, it does not, because I'm expecting here a closed bracket, not an open bracket. Okay, Shabab? Any question?
Doctor, about else, how it is used the S digit, because there are brackets and dash or the hyphen.
Very good. Who can answer him? How come in the else we are sure that it's a digit, and because there are hyphens or brackets, how do we know that we have to check that it is a digit in the else?
Because the positions that are reserved for the brackets and the hyphen are already dealt with the elif, and if.
Yeah. So this is the position where the open bracket is. This is the position where the closed bracket. This is the position of the hyphen. If it is none of those, definitely it should be a digit, صح? It has been taken care of by the if elif. واضح؟
اي واضح.
ممتاز. طيب. Okay. طيب slices. You know what's a slice?
قطعة.
Yeah, it's like a part, right? It's like a part. Right. So sometimes you are interested in looking at a part of a string. قطعة, okay? A part of a string. For example, assume that we would like to extract the area code from the telephone number. Okay, the area code from the telephone number. So what is the area code? Well, this is the area code. Okay, so we would like to extract 323. Now, on the chat, I would like you to tell me to write code on how can I, get the 323 using what we have learned so far. Okay, using what we have learned so far. So, of course, this can be done through a for loop or through a while loop. So I need somebody to write the code. I will wait. I'll give you 5 minutes. Okay, I'll give you 5 minutes. So I will start here by writing, phone number equals, and I will put this string. Okay. Or احسن بعدين الشباب يروحوا they say area code equal 323 hard coded, huh? Phone number equals input, enter a phone number in the format, and let me get the format. Well, that will be easier if I just do it. So pound dash pound. Yeah. Okay. So now I will wait for your codes. Okay. Now I will wait for your codes. Yeah. Let's see how we can do it. We would like to extract the area code. Okay, as we said, you can use the while loop, you can use the for loop, use whatever. I said, whatever we have learned so far, Yahtin.
كيف دكتور؟ ما فهمتك، يعني هذه ما تعلمناها ولا خطأ؟
ما تعلمناها، هلا رح نتعلمها. اعطينا دقيقتين ورح نتعلمها ان شاء الله. وترى هي خطأ يعني لسه خالد صح، لكن I'm still waiting for the solution with whatever we have learned so far using while loop أو for loop. عم تحرقوا لي الفيلم انتوا هيك يا شباب.
حتى الحل الثاني نفس الشيء. انا الصراحه بغيت اكتب كذا بس هونت شوي.
يلا يا شباب. How would you solve it؟ ترى باقي تقريبا دقيقتين. I'll give you 2 more minutes. طيب خلينا نشوف. اوكي very good. طيب خلينا نشوف محمد شو كذا. اوكي so let me copy paste his code and bring it here. اوكي واضح يا شباب شايفين؟ So this is what Muhammad wrote. I equal 1, area code equal the empty string. So he initialized the area code. Well, I already asked for the phone number. طيب. Now while I is less than 4, area code equal phone number I, and then I equal I plus 1, and then print area code. ايش رايكم؟
ناقص الكود.
ناقص. طب ايش الكود ايش راح يسوي هنا؟ مين يقول ايش راح يسوي هنا؟ Anybody knows what does the code يعني if I run this let me run it. Okay, let me run it. So I'm gonna enter let's say 317 322 3 4 5 6. Okay.
يطبع 7 ولا؟
Yeah, it will print 7. ليش؟ لأنه every time I assign area code to phone number I. So I will assign it first to phone number 1, which is a 3, and then I'll overwrite it to phone number 2, which is 1, and then I will, oops, أنا شو سويته? And then I will overwrite it to 7. If I run this, if I press, enter, راح يعطيني الاريا كود 7. Who can fix it very quickly?
ما يمدينا ندخل البرنت داخل اللوب.
No, and I want the area code to be stored in a variable.
I can say area code equals area code plus
area code is equal area code plus
ايوه use concatenation يا شباب. Use concatenation. Area code equal area code plus phone number I. صح؟ So now when I run this, enter a phone number in the format. Let's see. 317 824 83. Okay. Oh. One more. Okay. So now, if I run it, now it will give me the area code, which is 317. حلو؟ طيب طلعوا على هذا كله يا شباب. Look at all this code. أو بلاش all this code. Look at this part. Okay. Look at this part. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, look at these 5 lines and look at how we can do it using a single line.
احنا مو تعلمنا هذه من اول ولا؟
لا، هي أول مرة نحن بناخذها، يمكن تعلمتوها باللاب. I'm not sure.
اوكي صح.
Okay, you might have, covered this in the lab, so I'm not sure, but this is basically, this is basically the slice operator. Now, as you might guess, in the slice operator, if you specify the two arguments, the first and the second, what does that mean? Well, this means that you will start from a phone number of, so this is the first index of the first character, and you will continue until this one or this one minus one?
minus 1.
Minus 1. Okay, just like the range function.
range.
Okay, this is just like the range. This is just like the range function. So again, if I change this, to 317, just like the way I did, and I run this, it will give me the area code in a single line. Right. So the slice operator, since you already, it seems you have already taken it. If I don't specify the first number, I only specify the last one, like this. What should it do?
It will start from 0.
It will start from 0. From 0 up to 4 minus 1, right? So in this case, it will add the open bracket, صح? In this case, it will add the open bracket. طيب, what if I specify it like this?
It will keep up to the end of the string.
But it will start from
4.
From 4 or the 5th character, صح? It will start from the 5th character or from index 4. What is index 4? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So it will start from the closed bracket. Okay, it will start from the closed bracket and will continue until the end. كده خلصنا the slice operator. Okay, this way we have finished the slice operator. Okay. Oh, let's take few examples on the slice operator. يلا احنا here, so we are going to run this, and next we will try to run this thing here. So who's going to tell me what will this print?
Abdullah.
It will print Abdullah. By the way, this is I basically put the indices here, right? So 0 to 8, it means it will take from 0 to 7, صح? It will store from 0 to 7. So this will print Abdullah, and as you can see here, after H there is nothing. Okay, after H there is nothing. طيب, what about this one?
Same.
Same. Okay, because here when we do not specify the first argument, it basically defaults to the 0. Like next.
Salim
Salim al-Salih. It will take actually everything after the first name, right? Starts from 9 until the end. So it will take, the father's name and the family name. طيب, يلا على chat. I need on the chat, tell me what is this going to print. On the chat, tell me what is this going to print. Hint, think about the range operator. Think about the range operator. لا يا حسين, مو the whole name يا حسين. Okay, Faisal, he has written HAMLA. This is what Faisal has written. HAMLA. Let's see, is Faisal correct or no? Yes, it is correct. So what does this do? Well, as you might have guessed, just like the range operator, It will start from 7, and then instead of going one by one, now it basically from 7 it goes to 10. 7 plus 3, right? So 7 is H, plus 3, 10 is A, plus 3, 13, which is M. Right? As long as I'm less than 22, I'm fine. Plus 3 is 16, L, plus 3 is 19, A, plus 3 is 22. Well, 22 is not less than 22, so I will stop. So I will stop. واضح يا شباب السلايس اوبريتور؟ Okay.
Yes.
Let's now look at the last application that we will take on using loops before we, inshallah, move to the next chapter, which is random numbers and simulation. Random numbers and simulation. Now, a simulation program uses the computer to simulate an activity in the real world. Okay, to simulate an activity in the real world. Simulations are commonly used for predicting climate change, analyzing traffic, picking stocks, and many other applications in science and business. In fact, if you have taken any statistics course, you will see that some of these applications, some of these real situations can be simulated, following specific distributions, right? Specific, statistical distributions or probability distributions. So, so instead of, waiting until, the thing happens in front of you, you can actually simulate it in the computer. Okay, you can simulate it in the computer, and then you can, change your design in such a way that, it will, solve whatever problem you are trying to solve. So random number generators are very important tools, in these situations. In many situations, one or more loops are used to modify the state of a system and observe the change. Okay, in many simulations, one or more loops are used to modify the state of a system and observe the change. Right. So in order to do that, we have to use what we basically mentioned regarding, generating random numbers. So many events in the real world are difficult to predict with absolute precision, yet we can sometimes know the average behavior quite well. We might know the average behavior quite well. For example, a store may know from experience that a customer arrives every 5 minutes. Okay, every 5 minutes. Imagine you are in a hypermarket. You see the lines, in front of the cashier. It's not like in all the time there are long lines or there are empty lines. صح? Sometimes, you will see, long lines. Sometimes you will see basically empty lines. It also depends on how many cashiers are available, right? So you can also simulate, these times. You can also simulate, these times, and they will help you. For example, if you are the store manager, that from this hour to this hour, I need X number of cashiers. I cannot go below X. Otherwise, I will have long lines and people will stop coming to my store, right? But it has very nice application. Okay. So of course that's an average. Customers don't arrive in 5 minute intervals. To accurately model customer traffic, you want to take the random punctuation into account. Okay, you need to take the random punctuation into account. Now, how can you run such a simulation in the computer? Well, you can do that using the random number generator. Now we will see two examples of or two functions in that regard. The first one is the random function. Okay. Now the Python library has a random number generator that produces numbers that appear to be completely random. Right. Of course, they are not completely random. That's why sometimes they call them pseudo-random numbers, not random, because you can actually control them. If you know the seed, if you know certain information, you'll be able to generate exactly the same sequence. So it's not really random. Okay, it's not really random. Right. So calling the random function yields a random floating point number that is greater than or equal to 0 and less than 1. So the random function here basically generates a floating point number that is greater than or equal to 0 and strictly less than 1. Right. If you call it again, it will give you a different number. Again, with the same, endpoints. Greater than or equal to 0, strictly less than 1. So the random function is defined in basically the random in the random module. So in order to use the random function, you need to import it from the random module. So from random import random, and as you might guess, there are other functions in module random. We will see the other one, which is randint. Okay. So here, for I in range 10, value equals random, right? And then print value. So now, if I, for example, run it, let me run it. You can see here, it has given me, 10 random numbers. It has given me 10 random numbers. Try to remember the first three, okay? So the first three started with 0.2, 0.7, 0.9, right? 0.2, 0.7, 0.9. Let's run it again. Are we going to get, 0.2, 0.7, 0.9? 0.5, 0.7, 0.1. Okay.
Doctor?
So it is kind of random. Yes.
So the random function actually bring probabilities rather than integers?
Not probabilities. Not probabilities. It's basically random numbers that are greater than or equal to 0, less than 1. And usually, I think if you talk about the distribution, it could be following maybe the uniform distribution to generate the numbers between 0 and 1 in this case.
It will not equal 1 at any time, right?
It will never be equal to 1. If you run it, quite a number of times, you might get the 0, but it's very, its likelihood is very, and look at this. We don't even see 0, 0, صح? For example, when we ran it, this is like 0, 7. To get really 0, how many numbers do I have between 0 and 1, greater than or equal to 0, less than 1, with this number of digits? Clear, صح? It's kind of unlikely. Okay.
Doctor,
No.
can you reduce the number of decimals up to 2 decimals?
Up to 2 decimals. ايش رايكم? This is a good question for you, not for me.
Can use the string operator.
You can use the format. You can use the format string operator.
Rand. You can use rand.
Rand. Well, I don't know about rand, but regarding the format string operator, you can say let's say 3.
It is a floating point, right?
0.2f. 0.2f.
0.2f, huh? 0.2f. Okay, so now it will still generate these numbers, but to you will only see the first 2 decimals, right? You still generate these big numbers, but for you will only see the first 2 decimals. Okay?
Doctor?
Now,
I have 2 questions.
okay.
The first question, can we implement a random function of our own? يعني نكتب في البرنامج.
Wallahi, if the Python library contains an implementation, definitely you can also implement.
لا
But
يعني
you need to know the different ways of implementation, or some of the different functions that are used in order to implement this random function.
يعني
But definitely you can, of course.
ايه هو الحين ماني عارف كيف يعني مكتوبة هي أصلا الفانكشن.
Well, you know, there are ways to and specific ways of writing random number generators, or let's say pseudo random number generators, and I'm pretty sure that there is not a single way of doing so.
مهم.
There might be different implementations. Okay. To tell you the truth, and for me, I don't know exactly. Like, if you just Google it, random function generator or implementation of random number generators, and I'm pretty sure that you will find a lot.
إن شاء الله. السؤال الثاني الراندوم ما حيعطي نفس السيجنيفيكانت فيجر كل مرة صحيح؟
Well, it depends. If we go back to what it was, we saw that sometimes it was giving up to here, and once it was one less. Sometimes it was actually more than one less. Huh? Yeah, for example, if you look at these two here, there are two less than this. It really depends.
أوكي يعطيك العافية.
Okay. So this is the random number generator for numbers between 0 and 1. Right, what about if I want to generate randomly integers? Okay, if I want to generate randomly integers. For example, to simulate the throw of a die, you need random integers between 1 and 6, right? You need random integers between 1 and 6. Python provides a separate function for generating a random integer within a given range. So randint AB generates an integer from the set of integers a plus 1, a plus 2, b minus 1 up to b random. Okay, up to b random. Okay. Before I continue, do you have any problem with the randint function?
Doctor, I didn't get the range of it.
ليش didn't get the range؟ هي قال لك from A to B.
We specified يعني.
Yeah. So when you specify 1 to 6, it will give you a random number between 1 and 6. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
So we can say that this is a special case of random, specific for integers.
Yes, it is for integers. And by the way, I wouldn't be surprised if randint, the implementation of randint, actually calls random.
Yeah, so the random is the specific case. Yeah. Because it's limited to a specific range.
Because it's limited to a specific range. The range is much less than the random function. Okay. Do you have any problem with it, ya shabab?
The B is
B is included.
included, yes.
B is included. You have to memorize it, ya shabab. So for the range function, for the slice operator, the second argument is never included. طيب لكن randint, the second argument is included. Okay, randint, the second argument is included. So you need to you need to know that. Okay. So for example, if you are if you would like to toss a pair of dice, and you want to simulate a program that does that for you, then you can basically for I in range 10, generate two random numbers between 1 and 6. So this is the first die, this is the second die, and then you print what you get. So if you repeat that 10 times, it will show you, it will simulate you throwing the die 10 times. Okay, so let's see if I run this. Notice here that I'm also importing random, right? I'm also importing random. So if yes.
What if we put a floating point into the range of the radent?
طيب, let me run it first, and then we will see what will happen. Okay. Let me run it first, and then we will see what will happen. So as you can see now, the numbers are between 1 and 6 inclusive, right? This is the 6, this is 1, and so on and so forth. If you run it again, I don't think that you will get 5, 2, 6, 5, 1, 1 again. Well, subhanAllah, we got 5, 2, but not 6, 1, okay? We got 1, 3, 6, 4, 1, 4, and so on and so forth. Okay, so this is basically regarding the random. Now, what if you put a you put a floating point? I would think that it
I
might.
think we'll generate an syntax error.
Yeah. Well, syntax. I don't think it will be syntax. Non-integer argument for rand range, right? It seems that rand range is actually a function that is being called inside the rand int function. Inside the rand int function, and this function only accepts integers. This function only accepts integers, so that's why it raised, this exception. Inshallah, we will understand this when we talk about exception. Okay, so you can put non-integer values, but it will generate a runtime error because in the implementation of randint it has to be integer. Okay.
Doctor, a question about comments. No need to comment here for the import and for loop.
Of course.
So this one, he did not comment.
Yeah. I would definitely add a comment here, like for example, generating 10 pairs of random numbers. Yes. You can consider this just like the quiz, Did I ask you to write comments in the quiz?
No.
No.
You can consider it this way. Okay. Fine. Okay, so this is basically what we have in this chapter. So we took the while loop, the for loops, commonly used algorithms for the while loop. We saw, how do we use the for loop, and each loop, has the initialization, condition, and update. And we looked at some of the string processing that we can do using loops, and of course generating pseudo-random numbers. So with this, we are done in this chapter. Any question, ya shabab? We'll let you up 2 minutes early this time.
دكتور شنو الماتيريال حق المد؟
راح تعرفوها ان شاء الله. يعني before the end of this week, an announcement will be made, inshallah. Okay. طيب يا شباب.
يعطيك العافية.
الله يعافيك. Okay. So basically we are done. سبحانك اللهم وبحمدك، أشهد أن لا إله إلا أنت، أستغفرك وأتوب إليك. على خير يا شباب.